ZenlessZoneZero has a lot of menus, a lot of text to read, and even more mechanics that you didn't know about. Today, I'm going to break down 5 of the most important tips, especially if you want to do as much damage as possible in ZenlessZoneZero. Let's get into it. To begin, let's talk about character swapping. Characters can swap in and out of combat via spacebar, or if you're on mobile, through clicking on this icon on your screen. Mastering when swaps happen is important for a number of reasons, but keep in mind that there are a lot of different ways that this happen, including things like prompts, quick time events, etc, etc. One method, and arguably the most undercovered that I've seen right now, is through perfect assists. Now here's something important to keep in mind specifically about perfect assists. On screen there will be a golden glow when a boss or enemy allows you to use a perfect assist. However, some attacks are parryable while some are not. If the glow that we just mentioned is red instead of gold, two things are true. Number one, you are typically out of assist points, or number two, you are not currently in possession of someone who can parry with a defensive assist. Despite that, however, in some cases you will still be able to swap and dodge automatically if you end up using your perfect assist at the correct time. Now, to be clear, I must have skipped a tutorial on this, or maybe they just mentioned it in a training activity skill thing that I haven't seen so far, but that's pretty big news. Traditionally, when you see a glow of any kind, that usually means that you could parry, something big is happening, but since we're kind of already conditioned to dodge or parry or to do an effect, when you see the golden glow, you might expect the red glow to do the same. However, that is not the case. Do not lose as many lives or die as many times as I did because of it. Okay, now our second tip is building a team that synergizes with each other. Yes, this sounds like very basic information because it is, but you would be surprised what removing faction or element bonuses do for your team, and I'm here to clear up some misconceptions. Losing the ability to freeze, shock, burn, or create any attribute anomaly for that matter through element synergy is an enormous DPS loss. If you're curious, you can click on your character, click on the element, and see what exact effect you receive once you are able to apply an anomaly or basically debuff the enemy with your element. But I'll also be including a little table here just so you know what effect you get when you apply a certain element to an enemy. Now, I shouldn't really have to convince you by this point, but if you've ever seen the element effects from games like Star Rail or Genshin, elements are king and the effects themselves are super impactful as well. Electric in particular is great for dealing damage over time, and interrupting an enemy is no joke. However, where I do think this goes a little bit crazy is when you take a look at ice. Not only do you immobilize or freeze the enemy when you end up using your anomaly or when you end up applying your attribute anomaly, frostbite also increases the crit damage taken by the enemy for a period of time. So not only are you stunned, you also take a lot more damage. This is super insane, especially considering how strong Ellen, Lycon, and Sokaku already are. Okay, but moving on, let's talk about swapping to the right character in the right order. A bit of what I'm going to be saying is preliminary and just based off of testing that we've seen, but swapping in the correct order or to the right character is one of the most important things that you could do if you want more damage in this game. At the moment, most team compositions currently feature the following roles: a damage dealer, a stunner slash dazer slash utility slash dot slash anomaly generator. It's pretty much your flexible second pick, and then a support to buff the team. Now, before I dive into this, let me clear something up. Especially if you're in the early games of ZenlessZoneZero, just staying on your damage dealer in 99% of cases will result in you clearing any content that you like. The enemies, especially before you reach the endgame modes, do not really pose a threat at all, and you can pretty much 1 to 2 shot any character so long as you're doing your damage. Now, for some, this might seem like an issue and oh my god, the game is too easy, but honestly, I can understand why this is the case. Especially when you're doing the story. You're doing the story to do the story and learn more about the world, the lore, not to figure out whether or not you can zero cycle or beat the hardest content in the game without taking any damage whatsoever. I mean, seriously, there's dialogue and cutscenes intertwined, and even the TV mode, which by the way, I think there is a pretty ridiculous amount of, just to be clear. However, back to the order of operations for your team and who to swap when and why. Starting with your damage dealer for a quick rotation to then swap off to your dazer or your second pick is a great way to start most encounters with a boss. You can also wait until you see the opportunity to perform a perfect assist on your main DPS if you'd like to start your debuffer's rotation with an enhanced defensive or evasive attack. But this is situational and depends if the boss throws out an attack early. Once you're on your debuffer, your stunner, your second pick, stunning or dazing the enemy, and then swapping to your support to buff the team, and ending with a final swap to your damage dealer is going to be the ideal rotation. Now, of course, there are going to be variances to this, like saving your energy and resources until you can stun the boss, buff your team, and then unload a big burst window. But there are going to be scenarios where you won't be able to stun as quickly or saving resources won't be as possible, and therefore your rotation will change based off of that. Now, these are pretty in-depth combat specific tips, but let's talk about your weapon, your light cone, your W engine, whatever you choose to call it in this game. There are some important things that I found that you might be interested in, and the first is that you are able to equip W engines that aren't technically suited to your character. Similar to other games, however, that allow you to do this, there still is the line that reads, this W engine and character do not have the same specialty or same effect, same class, same character, same faction, whatever, and therefore it would make the W engine ineffective. Do you still want to equip it? This simply means that you shouldn't be equipping W engines of a different role onto another role because you just don't get their effect. It really doesn't do much. This is also tradition amongst most gacha games so that you don't end up using one light cone or one specific weapon across all your characters. I mean, come on guys, they want to make money. If you were curious though, I have tested to see how poorly it would feel, and trust me, it's not worth it. Even if one of the light cones is way higher level than the other, it feels so off and so much worse than you can imagine. Now for our fifth and final tip, I have to come clean. This one is less of a tip as opposed to a warning. If you are a repeat gacha offender and play a lot of different gachas, you're probably wondering where, when, how, why, everything regarding gear, relics, echoes, the disk drive. And here's exactly what you need to know. You unlock routine cleanup, aka drive disk farming, aka gear farming around level 25 to 26 in the story. Now I am warning you right now, do not upgrade any of these discs that you were first available to farm, especially if you aren't struggling. Take a look at what you have access to. Yes, some of these are purple, but as we all know, no one is using purples outside of the very early game when it comes to gacha games. And since all you can get right now are blues and purples, using battery charge to upgrade anything outside of maybe one specific set so that you can feel a little bit better about not dying to certain encounters is all you should ever need. This first set will likely end up being dismantled and used for enhanced EXP or used to upgrade your future pieces no matter what, because you just have less stats. But something I did want to mention if you do end up farming out discs is that this game does also share the 4 and 2 piece paradigm / set effect thing from all other gacha games. Since this is the case, mixing and matching is okay, especially since some discs end up sharing certain domains or end up being in the same locations when you're farming. And the perfect example of this, especially in the early game, is Puffer Electro being alongside Woodpecker Electro. Now, two things to note. If you are playing someone like Ellen, farming out this 4-piece and doing this domain or farming out this specific location is great because it has your best in slot set, which is the Puffer Electro. But added value to this is the fact that you could get the 2-piece set effect of increasing your crit by 8% if you end up getting the Woodpecker Electro. What's also great about this set is that if you are farming for this early on, 8% crit rate will mean a lot, especially when you have things like 1.6% crit rate at base. Like that, what even is that? That's literally 5 rolls basically just because you got a set effect. Now, as a final note, I did mention that Woodpecker Electro is pretty good, especially because of its 2-piece, but a special shout out to Hormone Punk as well, since it also gives you 10% attack. Free stats like this in the early parts of the game are normally fine because you're missing so many, especially when it's this early on, but just keep these in mind if you end up farming and trying to use this to improve your damage in general. Anyways guys, that's going to be it for this video. Thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed or if you learned something from this video, consider subscribing, leaving a comment in the comment section below about anything related to ZenlessZoneZero if you've been enjoying the game, if it's been a fun time for you, if content is really hard, you know the whole 9 yards. Make sure to like and turn on the notification bell, subscribe as well. But thanks again for watching. I appreciate it, guys. Make sure to check out the rest of my socials if you want to keep up to date for ZenlessZoneZero or other gacha game related stuff. And as always, I will see you on the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy, everyone. Good night. Whoa, it's time for you guys to watch this next video. I think this next video should probably be ZenlessZoneZero related, isn't it? That would be really cool. Make sure to watch it. That would be exciting. I think YouTube likes it if you press that, and I would also like it. Also, if you like and comment in this video, I'll give you a thumbs up. You can't see this thumbs up, but that's okay.